Thank you, Andy. Okay, thank you. So, turning to your workbooks, the final thing we're going to talk about is the mentoring and coaching. And the first thing I want to do is give a bit of a definition, because you might have a different view on what these things are. And I want to give you our definition so you're really clear. Oh, someone else's notes, I think. Oh, never mind. Okay. Don't know what that is. Okay, you always want to check that when you're a presenter, because sometimes people surprise you what's underneath. Anyway, mentoring and coaching. Now, let me explain what I believe a coach is. And this is what you're going to get from coaching. And remember, people have been in earlier posts like Paul, they never had coaches, they never had mentors, and yet they achieved this. So here's the thing. It doesn't really matter who your coach or mentor is. They are not going to do it for you. Who's going to do it for you? Me. You. Not me, you. Okay? Now, what you get is coaching. We're going to allocate a coach to you. All of the coaches have been through Mastermind. So they've all been exactly where you've been. And they've all achieved great results. Some of them have done both. Some have built a lot more property. Some have done the income. Some have done both. But they've all been very successful. They are experts in properties. None of them know everything about property. I don't know everything about property. And they are not going to teach you about property. Let me say that again. The coach's job is not to teach you about property. That's the job of me and the other presenters on stage and the forum and those kind of resources. A coach is going to help you to answer your own questions. You've heard the analogy of, I think it's a biblical thing. They say, don't give a man, if a man's hungry, don't give him a fish. Teach him to fish. Because a fish will sustain him for the day. Tomorrow he'll be hungry again. Teach him to fish, he'll be able to get fish the rest of his life. Does that make sense to everyone? Yes? Yeah. In the same way, if you go to your coach and say, I've got this terrible problem, what should I do? And your coach says, right, what you need to do is this, this, this. It will help you in the immediate time. It will give you a fish, so to speak. But next time you're hungry, what do? We don't want you to become dependent on your coach as a crutch. Does that make sense? Yeah. So what a good coach will do, a good coach, by the way, doesn't need to know anything about what you do. Let's think about this. Do you think top athletes, sportsmen, etc., have coaches? Yeah. Name a sports person who you think might have a coach. Usain Bolt. Sorry? Bolt. Usain Bolt. Volt. Okay. Usain Bolt. Doesn't mean anything to me. I'll go with Tiger Woods. Okay. Does everybody know who Tiger Woods is? Does anybody know who whatever? Anyway, but anyway. Hey, I'm not into sport, all right? Okay. Apart from demon skiing, but that's another story. Who's into skiing, by the way? A few of you? Mastermind ski trip, anyone? We've done them before. Oh, a few more. Oh, yeah, okay, now we're talking. Good. Anyway, so Tiger Woods. Tiger Woods, pretty good golfer, would you say? Used to be. Okay. Oh, are we going? I've got all day, okay? I don't know about you, but... So look, he used to be a pretty good golfer. Would you agree? Yeah. Damn sight better than you and me anyway, okay? Paid a lot of money. Slightly dubious other side, but that is beside the point. But okay, pretty good golfer. Yeah. Do you reckon Tiger Woods had a coach? Yeah. Or maybe even a couple of coaches for different things? Yeah? Were his coaches better golfers than him? No, because otherwise they would have been out doing it. But were they able to help him look at what he was doing and help him improve his game? That's what coaches do for you. They will work with you. They'll ask you questions about what you're doing. You probably know what to do, but sometimes you're not sure. So they'll ask you questions to give you confidence, to get you thinking. So instead of saying, right, I'm going around to the seller, what do I need to ask them? They'll say, okay, what do you think you need to ask them? Well, I need to ask them about the house and the details, their load, and they'll help you come up with the answers yourself. So eventually you won't need a coach because you'll know how to do it. So you'll know how to fish. Does everyone understand that? Yeah. Now, obviously, because they've been through Mastermind, they understand some of the problems you're going through because they've been there. And they will put their expertise into it, but we don't want them to teach you or to tell you what to do. That's not what coaching is about. They want to help you find the answers. They'll ask you good questions. Now, mentoring is slightly different from coaching. Mentoring is a bit more directive. They'll still ask you great questions. They'll still get you to come up with solutions, but they might well say, well, actually, what you need to do here is this, this, and this. Okay? And they will also hold you to, by the way, your coach will hold you to account. Say, right, what do you want to focus on this call? Well, I want to do this, this, and this. What have you done so far? Well, you said you're going to, how come you haven't done this? And they will call you, especially if you're feeding them bullshit excuses. Because you're only just bullshitting yourself, really. Okay? So your mentor who will come and spend 2 days with you. Now, if you're a very experienced investor, you'll probably get the mentoring earlier on. If you're brand new to property, we want you to get out there, do some things, and almost identify where you're struggling. Because if the mentor turns up and you don't really know what property is all about yet, you say, right, what do you want us to work on? And you go, well, I don't know. It's not going to be best use of your time. Whereas if you've done a few things, say, well, actually, I'm struggling with this, I'm not sure how to do this, there's more material they can work with. Does everyone understand that? Yeah. So if you're less experienced, your mentoring will be a little bit later on. Again, remember, we've had people do the program, first 6 programs didn't have any mentors, and they achieved the results. So again, it doesn't matter who your mentor is. Now, some people, sometimes it's good to get your coach to do your mentoring for you because they know you, they know what to work with, they understand, and they can get up to speed a lot because they know what you're trying to achieve. Not all of our coaches do the mentoring, though, so we can't always give you the same person for coaching and mentoring. And also, there's a question of availability because these mentors are taking 2 days out of their time to come and spend time with you. Now, we pay them to do that, but they're all busy people. They're out there doing deals. They like doing mentoring because they like giving back. They learn from doing the process as well. So we will allocate mentors sometimes by geography. You know, if you're down in London, it might be good to have someone who's based down in the south. Sometimes by area of speciality. For example, let's say you want to specialize in options just because actually, you know, you can't get mortgages, you haven't got much deposit money, and you've decided options the way you want to go. There are a few of our mentors, Paul included, who specialize in options. But when you do mentoring with Paul, he's not just going to talk about options because he's also going to make sure you've got your systems in place and everything's up. So there'll be a lot of standard things that you need to make sure are in place, that you've got your follow-up system in place. What are you saying to sellers? And these are the kind of things that you all need to know and be doing, but then he might be a bit of speciality in options. Does that make sense? So, and you know, sometimes that people only might have a limited amount of time. Some of the mentors have a lot more time, are prepared to put a lot more time into mentoring than others. So it's not a case of, I want to pick and choose my mentor, my coach. Ultimately, it doesn't really matter. And that's one of the things I really wanted to get across to you. Because they're all good, they've all got different experience, they've all been trained. So whoever your coach is, doesn't matter, they are good. And your coach is not going to do it for you. Now, if for whatever reason you're not getting on with your coach, they're all good people, but if there's a bit of a personality conflict, which sometimes there is, hey, we can move you and we put you with another coach. That's not a problem. What you need to do is contact us in the office, speak to Bobby, and we'll rearrange that for you. Now, here's how the coaching works. You get 2 sessions every month. How many did you get? 2 sessions. And there are some rules about coaching, just for everyone's benefit. If you want to turn back to the beginning of your workbook, we were talking about all the resources, and it's on page... Page 7, thank you. That's some just basic rules. And this is to help you get the most out of coaching. Now, our coaches are all busy people. They're all out there doing property. So sometimes they're hard to get hold of. But it's up to you to contact them to book in your coaching sessions. And they'll give you a number of times they're available. And hopefully between you, you find a mutual match. The more notice you give them, the more likely they'll be able to give you a time that's going to work for both of you. And I'd encourage you to book your, and some of people like to have a regular time every 2 weeks, Tuesday morning, 10 o'clock, and that's it. Great, and if that works for you, you might be able to do that. Some people like a bit more flexibility, and they like to be able to call, they say, well, let's arrange it, you know, each month we'll look at the month ahead and decide when we want it to be, to take holidays and things into account, okay? So you need to commit to the coaching 100%. And your coach will help hold you on track, hold you to account. And that's often what people need, because I guarantee, when you get on the forums, see all this information, you want to do this strategy, and sometimes you go all over the place. And that scattergun approach doesn't really work. You do need to be focused. And I would encourage your coach to get them to hold you to account. And I say, look, I want you to give me a tough time if I'm not doing what I'm doing. And I've had, I do coaching, and I know I will often do a lot of activity just before the coaching call to make sure I don't get my ass kicked. I don't like my ass being kicked. Who else is like that? Oh, lots of you. We'll see. So commit to it. The coaching is confidential. Your coach will not talk about what you're doing to other people. But please do not put them in a compromising position. They will not support you in anything that's dodgy. So if you're doing dodgy stuff, just don't tell them. Well, don't do it probably is the best advice, but don't tell your coach, okay? So they will support you, but not in anything that they think is wrong. I don't think people are going to do unethical things anyway, but they're not going to support you in that, okay? The coaching is property related. These are not counselors. They don't want to know about your other problems. They are not qualified to help you with your other problems. Please do not mention your other problems to them. In all seriousness, some of you may have issues that, you know, are difficult, and because you build up a trusting relationship, there's someone you can talk to. Well, what's going on in your life will have an impact on what you're doing in your property, because time and emotion and things like that. But if you do need some help elsewhere, maybe they can point you in a direction to go and get some help. But your coach is a property coach. Is everyone clear on that? Yeah? Okay. So agree with the coach. When you want to book that session in, put it in your diary and commit to it. You have already paid for it as part of this program. They're being paid. So please turn up and put it in your diary as an important. This is time for you. And sometimes we prioritize other things. I do this myself. I don't always give myself the time I should give myself. This is your time. You one-on-one with a coach over the phone or Skype or whatever works for you. So please use that time. And I would give you a real tip here. Think in advance, what do I want to get out of the coach? Because they'll ask you at the beginning, what do you want to focus on? So many times people go on coaching calls and say, so what do you want to do in this half hour? Don't know. And they waste 5-10 minutes trying to work out what they're doing. Now, some would say, is half an hour really long enough to coach? I have had, in the past, I've done some 20-minute power coaching sessions of people. And we've achieved some massive shifts in just 20 minutes. So yes, half an hour, if you're focused and you know what you want to cover, is very possible to help you make some real progress. And quite often, the coach is going to be asking you questions, helping you with your confidence, your mindset, and it's not so much the property know-how. And they'll give you their view, but they're not there to teach you the property stuff. So book your coaching session in each month, agree the time, commit to it, call them on time. If you've got a 30-minute session and it's at 9 a.m. and you call them at 10 past 9, guess what? You've only got 20 minutes. Because they've got to respect their time. They've got other commitments, other things to do. So this is trying to give you some discipline. The more discipline you have, the more successful you're going to be, the more organized you are. Now, sometimes things come up and you might need to move your coaching session. Sometimes the coach might need to move the session. And so say for both parties, you need to give at least 24 hours notice. Okay, so if coach says coming up and you know you can't do it, it's got to be a pretty bloody good reason to move it, by the way. But if you can't do it, speak to your coach. The deal is if it's less than 24 hours, the coach has got the right to say, no, sorry, you forfeited your session. So you've agreed the time in them in the first place. So make sure you check this paper diary I said you should have, or your electronic one. Make sure it's up to date. And just all I'm trying to get across to you is this is a really incredible resource. We never used to have coaches before. We've put it in because we think it will help you. Those people who go off track, side, it's going to help you bring back track. If you use a resource, this can be really, really powerful for you. Please make sure you use it. Book it in, value that time. Because it's already been paid for, sometimes people don't value it. Okay? Then the mentoring, as I said, the mentoring will happen, probably start early next year now. The more experienced investors start getting it in January. Because we want to see, today's all about preparation, give you an overview. You've got a load of things you need to do today. Next month, getting into more of the detail, like, okay, what exactly did you say to sellers? How do you start finding them? How do you do your research, etc. And then January time, we'll start doing the mentoring with the more advanced people already. If you're completely new to property, it will be a few months after that, okay? And then we'll allocate a mentor to you. If you've got a real strong reason why you want a particular mentor, we'll see what we can do. But as I said, honestly, it doesn't really matter who you get. They're all very, very good. So that's all I wanted to say to kind of explain that. Does everyone understand the difference between coaching and mentoring? Yeah. Is a coach going to tell you what to do? No. What's a coach going to do? Help you to find the answers yourself. Yeah? Okay. What's a mentor going to do? They might give you a bit more direction, mightn't they? They might tell you what to do, and you need to work with them. Now, here's a tip I want to give you to tell your coach that might make it easier for them to help motivate you. There are two fundamental ways people are motivated. There's what's called a moving towards and a moving away from. A moving towards is you might get motivated by the picture of the big attractive goal and all the things this will do for you. If you wrote down a goal of, whatever it was, and I said double it, and you look at that and you get excited, you might be moving towards person. A moving away from person is someone who moves away from pain. So they might think, well, that goal, that's quite attractive, but you know what? It doesn't really motivate you to take action. What motivates you is thinking, you know what? I'm in a terrible job. I've not got a pension, and if I don't do something about it, I'm going to be living on Ryvita and Kitty Cat when I retire. And for them, that pain is enough to motivate them. Does that make sense? Yeah. It's a bit like, who's got kids? Now, some of you have got kids. If you say to your kids, look, go and tidy your room, and we'll go and if you tidy your room, we'll go and have an ice cream in the park. Now, it depends how old they are, obviously. That might not work. But at a certain age, that might motivate some. They'll tidy the room and go and have an ice cream. For some of them, you have to say, if you don't tidy your room, you're going to lose this, lose it. And for that's enough to motivate. Take your Xbox away, and that's what motivates them. They're moving away from pain. So does this make sense, yeah? Now, you might have a little bit of moving towards and a little bit of moving away from.